Good morning, everybody. So quiet in here. And I'm not orange today. I'm not orange. We fixed the white balance this
Yay!
morning. So fix that this morning before we go. I was like, I should take this opportunity to fix this. And hey, look, I'm not orange. I look more like myself. Yeah, see? Chat's got it. Yay, not orange. So welcome to the Super Show for Thursday. This will be the last Super Show of the week. We'll be back next Tuesday with some fun stuff. I am a human.
Not an orange.
Don't forget to go to Heaven PNW.com if you want to know what's going on. Tonight, it's trivia night. It's trivia night, I believe. Yes, tonight is trivia night.
That's the trivia. Is it trivia night or not?
It is trivia night. The topics were posted in the Discord earlier this week. Come see the trivia. But am I a dancer? No, you do not want to see that. I sadly, I would love to be more musically inclined. But I cannot sing and I cannot dance. I did DJ back when I was in my early 20s, which was a very long time ago, but I did do that. That was fun.
Tell you what, drop a red bit and I will get them to dance.
We're gonna set the dance party as like a sub goal. All right, that's what we're gonna do. I can't. It's terrible. It looks bad. And I used to hang out with like a lot of b-boys, and they would try to teach me. Whew, right? And it was bad. So, anyway, trivia night tonight. We got Commander Ladder tomorrow. Pre-releases next week. Don't forget that Wilds of Eldraine is available for pre-sale right now. We had a busy night last night. We had got a draft to fire last night. They had some fun doing that, and then we had the big Yu-Gi-Oh tournament.
Good turnout for the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament too. It was really good.
Very good turnout for the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. And don't forget, Tuesday Night Fight Night, which will be our fighting game grind sessions, are going to start next Tuesday.
Yep.
So we're going to start spreading that word around. So
and that's free for anybody that's curious. That is a free session. It's going to be a weekly thing. Y'all can come in and play basically whatever we got here or whatever anybody brings in.
Yep.
It's pretty open.
Yep. So we're John was working hard yesterday getting all the chargers the controllers recharged, and then probably Tuesday morning what we're going to do is we'll get all the Xboxes set up and all the PlayStations and do this. Thank you for the bits, Necron tier. We really appreciate that.
Nice.
Thank you very much. We were going with that. Remember, bits, gifted subs, all those things. Use your Prime sub. Give us Amazon's money. We will take Amazon's money.
Them Bezos bucks. Shell them over.
Heck yeah. Everything you do for that supports the show, supports the staff here, supports the shop. That's what we're here for. All right, on to our first topic. Gamescom continues, and we're starting to get some more stuff out of there, although they're doing more than just games at GameStop. Thank you for the gifted subs, Necron. I really appreciate that. Okay. John, you and I watched the Rebel Moon trailer, which was premiered at Gamescom.
Yes.
Which is the Netflix 2-part movie series.
That's that was Zack Snyder.
Zack
right?
Snyder
Zack
is
Snyder,
is the filmmaker there. You and I watched the trailer just before the show today.
Yeah.
I'm very visually. It looks good.
Visually, it looks fantastic. It was a feast for the eyes.
It very much is. It very Zack Snyder-y.
I feel like that also is why I'm a little concerned, is because there's a lot going on. They throw a lot of faces at you. There's a lot going on in the trailer.
A lot of familiar faces.
A lot of familiar faces. I'm okay with that for sure.
Was that Charlie Hunnam I saw in there too?
Gosh, I don't even know, man. I
saw Jujimon Hansu. But what did you think? What was your top line first?
I think that one, as far as this goes, since we know it's going to be a Netflix sort of thing, I think that it's going to be a fun, let's find out what we can do with looks like a super huge budget, sort of sci-fi fantasy crossover site. There was a lot going on. You had griffins and mechs and laser ships and
pseudo
lightsaber-esque things. Yeah, there's a lot happening in this film, but it is a two-parter. So if we're talking about a 4 or 5 hour epic, then you know what? I'll strap in for the first half and see what happens. I'm honestly I'm excited for people to explore more of that sort of stuff. It's really hard to process because I've seen the trailer once and there was just so much. If you watch the trailer, I don't think there was a seizure warning, just to be clear. There was a lot of flashing and bang, but I wouldn't say there was a lot of intense in the row strobes.
No, not like that.
But it looks good. And that's kind of why I'm worried. Is usually when something looks that good, there's not a lot of substance behind it. So I'm hoping that there is some good substance to this.
And here's the thing: Zack Snyder has never, nobody's ever critiqued him for his visuals, right? Man of Steel looked great. Batman v Superman looked great.
Yeah.
Justice League looked great.
Yep.
His issue has never been, can he make it look cool, right? It's how strong is the filmmaking?
Yeah.
How strong is the storytelling?
We got Kelsey here says someone told Snyder that we can't direct a Star Wars movie, and he said, "Fine, I'll do it myself."
I mean, kind of, yeah. I don't know. Like I said, I'm very worried.
Yeah. Well, and that's
he didn't write the whole thing.
No, and the nice thing is, again, it's going to be a Netflix thing. So, like, my worries are a little more assuaded by, like, I'm not going to have to worry about box office gross or shelling out money or, like, whether or not the next one's going to get made because they're both already happening and they're both on Netflix.
Yeah.
And most people will be able to check them out and, like, be able to see them. It's not going to be locked behind the theater paywall in a lot of ways. But I think it looks grand. It looks really grand, and that is the most positive thing I can say about it. It looks
very epic.
Yes,
it does look very
pretty epic. Lots of yelling.
The design looks really good. I'm looking on the IMDb page because I was sitting there talking to John when we were watching this. I was like, is that Anthony Hopkins? Doing
narrating?
The voiceover?
Yeah.
It is Anthony Hopkins.
Okay.
That is Charlie Hunnam's face. I saw in the background there. Digimon Hansu. I mean, it's got a good cast. Carrie Elwes is in it. Corey Stoll.
Yeah.
Obviously Anthony Hopkins. I mean, they're putting some good people in here. So, I mean, look, we've talked about this on the show a bunch of times. I am always rooting for things to succeed.
Yes, absolutely.
I like getting good entertainment.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Good
entertainment is good. I don't want stuff to fail, but I'm also not going to, just assume that it's going to be great. So yeah, here's to it. Okay, the other thing is you said there was a closed door showing of some stuff for the new Fallout show.
Yes, there was a closed door showing very recently of some very brief footage. It sounds like we got a lady opening the vault door. We've got Brotherhood of Steel walking across the like an industrial desert wasteland, and we had one more shot apparently that I don't remember the description of because this is all articles that have been written about it afterwards.
Yeah.
So we haven't seen this. They've said that the public is probably not going to see this reel. So just hearing that the cinematography and the apparently the visual effects look like they were very high budget, well put together, and that's kind of the most we have to go with it right now. So I'll take that right now because you can do so much, as we discussed, with the Fallout universe that I'm not even going to speculate the direction they're going to go with it. I'm just going to enjoy, hey, as long as it's a visual feast out of the gate and people get all the visual references that they want right away, cool. We can go from there because it's Fallout. It's always been kind of a build-your-own-story adventure in a lot of ways anyways. So we'll see what happens with the show when they're focused on a more linear narrative.
There is so much you can do with Fallout, though.
Yes.
So this thing, so I'm looking at the tweet from Prime Video. So it's Vault 33. You mentioned this in the pre-show too. Location is Los Angeles.
Yes, yeah.
Which is a site we have not seen before.
We saw that in the art that we have seen for it is a pre-explosion art piece. So
yes.
I'm assuming we're gonna get the traditional
that retro future style that we get from the pre-bombs dropping.
Yeah, we'll probably get some of that. We'll probably get the rush to the shelter. We'll probably get what happens there for a few years and then coming out into the world. So I can see them doing a lot with it, especially in the first season of there's a lot of time you could live in the vault, or you could just skip all of the vault living and jump straight to the meat of the wastelands. So. It's going to be interesting.
And almost like a structure almost like Fallout 4 would be cool because I know when I played Fallout 4, one of the bits, and even though it was short and limited, one of the bits I really enjoyed was seeing the world before the bombs dropped.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And being able to interact, like walk around their house.
Dealing with the dude and like doing the questionnaire or whatever and walking around the house and like even being able to like, I would have loved to have been able to go outside a little bit more in the neighborhood, but I understand why you can't. But like even the running to the shelter and just like
That was
looking
a
around
really
you.
cool piece.
Yeah, because you felt like, oh, I'm really here, and you see the before and after of like, oh, the big change. This is actually mentally going to affect you a little bit more. Like I felt like they led you into that really, really well.
Yeah. Is this, that's actually a good one. I wanna, Kelsey, I'm gonna save that chat topic for later in the show because that's an interesting topic. Kelsey over in the YouTube chat. Thank you for that. I'm gonna hold that. Apparently they did do a closed thing. So other things from the article saying that you see some vertibirds in the thingy.
I think that's the last shot. Yeah.
The vault opening, multiple nuclear explosions. A shot of who we presume is Walton Goggins' Ghoul character. It's due out sometime next year on Prime Video. I'm really looking forward to this show.
So how do they peg that it was like a specific ghoul? That's the part that I'm curious. I wonder if they had like an outfit on or something.
Yeah, IMDb stuff probably. It mentions here this Brotherhood of Steel marching across the desert. I wonder. I mean, because you could do like the formation of the new California Republic.
There's a lot you could do there. As a matter of fact, my spouse is a huge Fallout nerd. They like once I talked to them about this, 'cause I haven't had a chance to talk to them about this morning. I just learned about it. I'm probably going to learn all sorts of things that they could possibly do.
Yeah. So this one's helmed up by Westworld's Jonathan Nolan. Again, like the posters.
George, yes, this is going to be the Fallout show.
Yep. So it's Vault 33 is the location of the show. So, yeah, I'm super excited. Again, I love that retro. I've always loved the retro future, like where like culture kind of stops in the 1950s in the Fallout universe until the bombs drop.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's always been fascinating to me. Everybody loves Vault Boy. It's really, really solid. So that's really, really cool. Let us know what you think down in the comments. I think it looks like it's going to be good. And we know Amazon has the money to do high-level productions.
Yes.
Right? Regardless of what you thought about the Lord of the Rings series that they did,
the production was great.
The production value was
it was really good.
Top notch.
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what we got from the Lord of the Rings series. I wasn't expecting much, so I think my expectations were nice and low when I went in and was pleasantly surprised. Mostly the supporting cast was the thing that I was there for. Beyond that, we'll see what season 2 brings us. I thought the villain was fantastic. Yeah. I want to see him do more stuff.
Somebody in Twitch chat saying, I'm going to play my Fallout Commander deck next year while I watch Fallout on Amazon.
Absolutely.
That's great. We're getting a full crossover run there. So that's pretty much it. No, I didn't. I saw something about the guy jumping up on stage at Gamescom. I didn't really pay much attention to the story.
This is a dude that goes to various events and says Bill Clinton wants GTA 6. That's all he said. It's just some idiot that does, he's done it a couple times. He's inspired some other idiots to do it too. The only problem that I saw there is that security was really slow to act. He was up on stage and was able to say it in the mic a handful of times before they got him off of Keeley. But besides that, I think it was really well handled professionally as far as Keeley goes. He didn't miss a beat. But yeah, that was a little bit rough, and I honestly think the knock-on effects of that are going to be sad for the rest of the industry, because that's where people like that kind of fuck it up for everybody else, because at Gamescom and things like that, there isn't as much emphasis on the bag checks and the security and cross-referencing your ID to your card and blah, 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 blah. Now a lot of that stuff is going to be really hard and set into place. Like, all those security measures were there, but you didn't have idiots rushing the stage. So a lot of that stuff is going to now be really enforced, and it might make for a rougher experience for the people that actually enjoy those sort of situations.
Yep. And the chat's agreeing with you. People like this is why we can't have nice things.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's it for Gamescom for today, but don't worry, we're going to keep paying attention to what's going on. And I'm really hoping, and next Tuesday, actually, because John will be here next Tuesday, we'll probably do our PAX preview, right? Or what we're expecting to see out of PAX this year. And I know John's going to go to the Nintendo event, and so after PAX, we'll, of course, cover a bunch of the stuff that we saw at PAX. So get ready for that. All right, next topic today For those of you that are sad because you don't have the crazy PC and you need Baldur's Gate for your Xbox, when is Baldur's Gate coming to Xbox? We did get some release information for Baldur's Gate coming to Xbox.
Yep.
It will be later this year. It is coming to both the Series X and S.
With some concessions, apparently.
With some concessions, and you brought this up, this is big. So the X, it will be the same.
Yep.
But on the S, we will no longer have the ability to do split-screen co-op on that console. Now, you brought up that this was a big deal, and can you explain to them why this is such a big thing?
Yeah, so this is kind of a big deal because traditionally when we're talking about the X versus S split and what Xbox and Microsoft does as far as their games go is they don't allow, like it's part of the stipulation that if you're developing a game for X and S, they have to have the same feature set. And the things that you can have some general concessions are on like graphics, frame rate, the stuff that you would expect from like a lesser system.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as core gameplay elements go, they have never allowed a developer to diverge from having full pieces of content or full pieces of mechanics or gameplay stuff like split screen versus not having split screen. Mm-hmm. So the fact that they're allowing the S version to not need split screen, but they're still going to have it on X is huge because they have never allowed anything like this in the past where they have been able to diverge on a gameplay mechanic like that, which is, or like a full-on mechanic.
A gameplay
like that.
function.
A gameplay function. Like that is something that traditionally they have never allowed to be changed. But like graphics, like I said, and stuff like that can be because that's the hardware limitations. The hardware limitation we're running into right now is the X just cannot do split screen at a reliable frame rate that doesn't cause a bunch of problems. So they have allowed Baldur's Gate to go ahead and release without it, setting a precedent that could be interesting to see other devs argue down the line. Can they do this? Is this something that more devs are going to be allowed to do, having sort of like being able to break certain parts off of the game? And this gets into a longer discussion of, does this also mean that we are going to start seeing games that don't release on the S due to hardware limitations down the line? Because Phil has already stated that they don't see this going the phone way where you upgrade every couple of years and the prices reduce on your consoles. They might go down a little bit, but we're probably just going to see more generations tacked onto the Xbox line instead of a full generational jump, meaning that they might essentially only have some games on the S, and to get the full experience, you're going to need the X or the Z or the whatever else beyond that.
I'm curious because like Kotaku's got a thing here where they're talking about Xbox leaning into the S and saying they're not getting rid of the S. They're not stopping support of it.
They won't get rid of it. No.
The S is obviously kind of that mid-range console. Why do you think that, I mean, given that they've never done this before, and given the hardware limitations of the S, why do you think they're so focused on keeping the S relevant?
It is the lowest entry point that someone could get into the Xbox ecosystem beyond having a TV or a phone, and phones are almost $1,000 sometimes, that gets you into that ecosystem. So like that $250, $275, whatever price point it is right now for the S, super low, real easy to get in the house, real easy to get for your kids that don't really, necessarily like need the X or the disk drive or like any of that other stuff or the fancy graphics right off the bat. But it's the entry point. And like we're seeing this, what they're trying to do right now is I feel like they're trying to lower the entry point by getting things into Samsung TVs and having them built into hardware already and having you just have Game Pass actively in your television. That then becomes the lowest point of, like they're saying in chat, accessibility. So like the S is the lowest or the cheapest way, I guess, is a better way to
get
state
somebody
it,
into that Xbox.
to get somebody in that ecosystem until it's just Game Passes on your TV, and then that becomes the lowest point to get people into.
Well, and we had talked about this on the show a little while ago about the TV issue, right? Because one of the things I've seen with smart TVs is the problem with smart TVs is because of the size of the TV and the way that they're built. From a hardware perspective, if you've ever used a smart TV and not had an external box, right? Like at my house, for example, I use Apple TV.
Yeah.
Right, so I actually have the Apple TV puck It is outside of my TV. I don't use any of these smart TV features because I find that after basically 1 or 2 software upgrades, that they chug.
Yeah, that's fair.
You know what I mean? Like the software is not the hardware does not keep up with the software on smart TVs.
The Fire Stick that we have on one TV in the office versus the smart TV that we have in the living room. After a few updates, yeah, there have been a couple apps that have chugged. The other thing that I really don't like is a lot of the TVs just like randomly will remove apps. Like Twitch is not on Samsung TVs right now, at least not the model that I have anymore. And they just kind of disappear. Whereas like those the boxes that you hook up to your TV tend to want to support as many apps as possible, so they stay around for a lot longer.
Well, because they're external, they're built with a single function in mind.
Which is on your Samsung TV? Okay, so then it must have just gotten booted off of my model.
Which so again, like I've seen the same thingy where it's like, and also you tend to have less customization as to what apps are on the TV, right? Like on my Apple TV, I can add an app, like I can add Hulu or I can delete Hulu.
Yeah.
I can delete YouTube. I can add YouTube. All those stuff. And then somebody and this is the thing that people keep bringing up, and this is why we're talking about accessibility in consoles and TVs. And this is why I've always been kind of like, I don't know when they're going to be able to get to the Game Pass in your TV function, because I think we're still a little ways away from that. Because again, people who have smart TVs and stuff like that, they don't want to upgrade components. People in the chat are saying they have upgradable components now. I don't know many general consumers that want to pull their 65-inch flat screen off the wall, pop open the back, and swap out chips. You know what I mean? Like, you're asking for a lot in that case from the general consumer, right? I think it's why a lot of console owners own consoles.
Yeah.
If you want to be able to swap components and upgrade and do stuff, you buy a PC.
Yeah, and then that's like even on the consoles, like for the people that want to do that, the hardware slot, the hard drive slot is usually super accessible. It's real easy to just like go out, buy the new Xbox hard drive or whatever, slap it on in there and call it a day.
But that's it.
But that's it. Yeah, you're not tearing it apart. You're not having to like dust out your components and change your CPU and reapply paste.
You're not changing the processor. You're not changing RAM chips. You know, you're not doing any of that when you're a console owner. And I think that you take that, I'm not doing that concept even further when you're talking about a TV.
Yeah.
They can try and be like, we're going to swap the guts on your TV or buy a new TV. I think most consumers are going to be like, buying a new TV.
Looks like this TV's going in the bedroom and this TV is being upgraded.
You know, I mean, and the thing about a TV is it's one of those hardware pieces that I expect my television, and maybe it's because I don't use the smart TV features, I expect my TV to last me roughly 5 to 7 years. Like, that's what I expect out of it. You know, I don't want to be replacing my TV every 2 years. You know, my TV turns into an input-only device. That's basically what mine is now. Again, I almost never use the smart TV functions. I know my TV has them, but I just don't use them. That's the point behind cloud gaming like Stadia, Luna. Again, looking at what happened with LOL Stadia, as the chat puts it, we talked about this a little bit yesterday. I don't know if cloud gaming's where it's at right now. Like,
who here has been gaming long enough in that ecosystem to remember OnLive? Any of y'all out there remember OnLive?
Mm-hmm.
That was the first one that tried to dip its toe into it.
Planned Obsolescence says no. You get and every time a new version comes out, kinda. Honestly, I love Stadia. So actually, that's a good question. What did you think of Stadia? Did you mess with Stadia at all?
So I messed with Stadia at a very interesting point. I actually got accepted into the Google beta for Stadia before it had hardware, before it had any of that stuff that they were even talking about, where it was just a in-browser gaming streaming platform. And so I got to test it out on Chrome. And it was good. It was really good. I played Assassin's Creed Odyssey. I played the first couple hours of it. It looked incredibly well. Mind you, I have fiber at home. And so like, I thought it was actually pretty good until it became what it was. And then by the time it became Stadia, I mean, I was no longer interested. I had learned way more about streaming video games at that point. It just didn't appeal to me as much. But the one thing that I do know about Stadia is apparently their controller and the sticks in their controller are like the freaking best. I hear
Really?
people rave about the Stadia controller, like as far as like the extra controller. And then like Amazon Luna had like another really good one too. They had like surprisingly good controller as well. So like, I don't know. These streaming services aren't particularly like my thing, but their hardware is apparently really good.
Yeah, somebody in the chat's agreeing with you. The controller was awesome. Leagues above other controllers. So, can you still use if you own a Stadia controller? Can you just plug it?
Yeah,
into
you
a
can just
PC?
use it as like an Xbox controller or whatever. Like
Neat.
it functions just like a PC controller.
Huh. Well, I'll have to take a look at that. Okay. Before we jump into our final plan topic for today, if you've got anything you want to talk to us about, go ahead and toss it into the Twitch chat or the YouTube chat, and we'll bang those out at the end of the show.
Also, if we've gotten anything wrong, please let us know. We'd
Yeah,
love to talk about it.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you have anything you want us to talk about, go ahead and throw it into the chats right now. We'll do that at the end of the game, at the end of the show. There you go.
That's a good question, Kelsey. Oh, and to jump back, I saw your comment or your question earlier. Are we going to make a PAX vlog? Currently, there are no specific plans to do a PAX vlog. I have a couple very big events and a few meetings that I'm going to be going to, so I won't be doing anything specific. Like I won't be doing a ton of stuff on the show floor unless it's like a meeting thing. A lot of stuff to fly around and do. I have a meetup before the event. I have a meetup during PAX, and then I have the Nintendo thing, and then I have a show that I'm going to on Friday. So, but they are, and I think we can talk about this now. But you will be able to get the chance to see Alex floating around at the event, and there might be a possible reward for finding him at the show floor.
Yes, I will be out there. I might do a little bit of vlogging while I'm there, and again, I plan on doing. We'll do like a PAX review the week after the show. To kind of see, we'll talk about what we saw at the show and kind of how it compared. Again, we've talked about this a lot. This to me is the year that's going to tell me what the future of PAX is, at least for the next 5. We've had a lot of changes to the con scene this year. E3 getting canceled, GamesCom kind of taking that bigger piece. PAX is here now, and PAX Prime. I'm going to keep calling it PAX Prime.
That's fine. I do too. Don't worry.
It's Prime to me. And yes, no, I'm not orange today. I fixed the white balance this morning. So, to me, Prime was always a really interesting. It was always a great show because, to me, it always felt like because it's the last major in the con season. It's the last big one.
Yep.
Right, and so. I always felt that the show out for PAX was always really, really great because the game companies knew if you want consumers to get your hands on these games before the holiday season, this is the show to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Like this was kind of the last chance to get that one-on-one time with the player base before the holidays hit when you want them buying your stuff.
Because in the last 4 months, basically you need to hit your consumers with messaging going into Christmas, because like especially this year, and this is a hell of a year for games. We have gotten so many games. The big thing is like for Christmas, what's really going to sell, because a lot of these big titles have been out for a while, and how do you get people in front of them? Like, because there's so many games out this year. It is insane.
I was actually thinking about that last night where I was like, God, I don't know how I'm going to keep up, because we got Starfield releasing next week.
Yep.
AC Mirage, which I'm really looking forward to.
Yep. Fires of Rubicon tomorrow.
Armored Core is coming out this year. Like, there's a lot coming this fall. And everybody's kind of shifting dates and doing weird stuff to try to figure out how to fit in.
That's right around the corner.
Mortal Kombat's coming out this year. Like, and I was watching the trailers for Mortal Kombat yesterday, and I was like, wow.
Yo, those look so good. It looks so good.
PAX is still going. I thought it got canceled. No. It has not been canceled. So PAX has been, they only canceled PAX 1 year.
Yeah.
They came back in 21 and it was very sparsely attended, and I think that was a mistake. I think bringing back PAX in 21 was probably not a good idea. Last year's PAX was okay-ish.
I think we're seeing more tickets being still available this late because of the fact that they have built new systems in to not. Scalpers are not as big of a deal right now.
Also, again, I think a lot of it also may have to do with the fact that they have both sections of the convention center.
Yeah,
So they got the old con center,
so much more space,
and then they still have the hotels and all the stuff. I mean,
all the offsite things, all the activations that are all around the city. They've got the convention center basically just doubled, if not 2.5 times itself in size.
Yeah. I mean, if you haven't been to the new convention center building, it is massive. I mean, it is really, really big. So yes, expect to see me. I'm going to do that again. Knowing how bad cell phone reception is down there, I'm going to try to jump on TikTok Live and do some stuff, and I'll probably do some vlogging. ECCC tickets just went on sale.
That seems early, doesn't it?
That's really early.
That seems really early.
Y'all should have waited until October. That's weird, ECCC. All right.
I'm already spending too much money on video games. Come on, give me a break.
Holy smokes. Okay. Sanford Tabletop Games 2 is the push before the holidays. Yeah. John will be going to one of the Nintendo shows. Jess is trying to get into the Nintendo shows. So we will know what's happening with that, and we'll report back to you after PAX.
Yeah, nobody's illusion. I will be going to the Nintendo event on Monday. I will let you know how it is. I've been kind of looking at the stuff they've been doing in Japan the last couple of years, and if it's going to be anything like that, I think it's going to be amazing. I should have plenty of pictures and maybe even some video to share when I come back.
Yeah, so we'll do that. All right. For our last planned topic today, the AMPTP released something. We've talked a lot on the strike about the show. They released some information about what they are offering to the WGA. There's a couple things that I want to focus on. They are doing a considerable rate increase for all of the writers. They're doing a SVOD residual increase for high budget stuff. Here's one of the ones that they were worried about is how, because of the shrinking writer rooms, how are showrunners getting trained? AMPTP has said, okay, here's how we're going to do that. We're going to guarantee that on any show that does this, the showrunner can pick 2 people out of the writers' room to ensure that they're being trained to be the showrunners of the future, right? Here was the one, though, that John and I saw, and we went, whoa, hang on a second. Because one of the ones that we know has been a big thing is residuals for SVOD and all this stuff for streaming video on demand has been really wonky because all of the streamers use completely different metrics. And they all use completely different things. And one of the things that especially like the tech guys like Apple and Netflix are not used to is disclosing information. They don't want to talk about information except where it makes them look good. For the first time, and this comes from the AMPTP, viewership data in the form of quarterly confidential reports is to be provided to the WGA that will include total SVOD view hours per title.
That's so wild to me.
And that's quarterly.
It's hard to overstate how big of a deal that is for them to have gotten the tech companies to give up that information. This is such a good thing on so many levels because it's going to standardize things across the board and I think help in a lot of these sort of situations where they have to go to bat for themselves again.
Yeah. So that's a big one, especially like for the course of this next 3-year contract, they'll be able to see exactly what's happening on all the streamers. So they're not defining in this release, they have not defined what constitutes as a view. What they're showing is SVOD view hours per title, which I would argue is probably the best metric to use.
Yeah.
Right? As opposed to views, as opposed to clicks. It's, hey, House of the Dragon was watched for 2.4 million hours over the course of the quarter, right? That's probably going to be a better metric. Here's the other piece. Written material produced by generative AI will not be considered literary material. Writers will not be disadvantaged if any part of a script is based on GAI-produced material, so writers' compensation, credit, and separated rights will not be affected by the use of generative AI. That's a big one, too.
That's a good baseline. as we know, corporations can take and twist wording and do a lot of things with it. So I hope that this doesn't lead to a split in the industry somehow. But hearing that they're basically not going to count it if it's AI written, I'm totally behind that, like 100%. Right?
Yeah.
Writers, like, it's already hard enough out there as a writer, like, and then to have a AI algorithm that has probably scraped off of your work and learned off of your work come in and write your work is, yeah, absolutely not.
So that's a big piece. I think, so my guess is the reason they made this concession is last Friday, a federal judge upheld the U.S. Copyright Office's finding that art and writing created by AI cannot be copyrighted. And so what I think the studios went off and did is they went, oh, crap, nope. Because if you're using generative AI to create scripts and you can't copyright it, oh boy, that was a great episode of whatever show that you use generative AI. I guess I'm going to film a better version of it now because you can't copyright that script.
Yep.
It's mine.
Yep.
Have a nice day. So I think that's probably why they made that concession. And it's a big concession, right? They've got a lot of stuff in here, and I'm not going to get into the really big nuts and bolts about it. You can go find it. It's a 6-page document that goes over some of the minimums and stuff like that they're offering the WGA. To be fair, the WGA has responded and said it's not enough. The WGA has said we're still not there yet. Here's the thing. At least they're talking now.
Mm-hmm. I mean, sitting at the table is the first big step, and that was the thing that, why do we have so many pickets right now?
Yeah.
They won't even sit at the damn table.
Yep. They're talking, so that's probably a good sign. Again, we support the strikers. I'd like these guys to make, things. And to kind of head off some commentary, because I've seen some of this elsewhere where they're like, people look at the minimums inside of the WGA's offer, right? Mm-hmm. And they're like, but that means they made, $120,000 in 4 months. But the thing about being a writer in Hollywood is that may be the only work you get for a year and a half.
Yeah, we were talking about this, I think
yesterday. Yeah.
Where it's like, you might write something and then you might have a show for a while, but then when are you going to get picked up again? It's a huge crapshoot.
Well, and again, especially considering how the streamers do it now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you're doing a 10-episode series for Disney Plus in the Star Wars world, right?
Yeah.
So you get your 11-week minimum for writing that show, and they're going to renew it. But the thing is that, like, it's 2 years between shows. It's not like the old, network days where it was like, okay, here's the season's over, we move on, 3 months later we start a new season. Mm-hmm. A lot of these streaming shows are 2-3 years between seasons, right? If you're a writer on House of the Dragon, you're going to write your stuff, and then you're not going to be back writing for another year and a half?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So please keep that in mind, too, when you're looking at these minimums. Like, it may look like a lot.
But it's a lot spread out over a long period of time.
You've got to really know how to budget your money, because you, again, don't know when your next job's coming.
Yeah.
Again, both sides are kind of playing this out in the court of public opinion. I'm hoping that it ends soon-ish. So, good luck to the WGA and SAG. No updates on SAG, right? It does not appear that they are at the table right now. We're going to find out. So, stay tuned. We're going to find out more. But SVOD hours watched. For them to disclose that information, Somebody asked in the chat, how are they going to tell if somebody's sleeping or things like that? That's why Netflix has that, and I think you're going to see a lot more of that, like the "Are you still watching?"
We'll probably see more of that pop up, yeah.
You know, where if you roll through 2 or 3 episodes and don't interact with the television at all, and like especially if you're not letting it run through the credits. Like I've noticed that on Netflix, about 10 seconds into the credits, it'll have the little like button, skip to next episode.
Yep.
And I think what triggers Netflix to go, "Are you still watching?" is, did you really want to watch all of the credits?
Multiple times.
Multiple times. Like, tell me if that's really the case. So I would really like to see what they do with all that stuff. So yeah, I think you're going to see more of that. Transparency is going to be a huge deal. So good for them to get into that concession. All right. Again, if you've got some chat topics, we've got a couple already, but we've got actually a pretty reasonable amount of time. So if you have any chat topics you want us to hit here at the end of the show, go ahead and drop it into the chat either on YouTube or Twitch, and we will move them into the thing. First chat topic. Viewer asked, is it just me or we've gotten a lot of post-apocalyptic movies and shows in the past few years?
Yeah, I think it's kind of like I think we go through
waves.
Let's take zombies, for example. Like, we had so much zombie content coming out over the last couple of years, and it's kind of shifted to like the post-apocalyptic stuff, and like it's kind of shifted. We'll probably see it shift again to more of the hard sci-fi stuff. It comes and goes in waves, but yeah, I would say that we've seen a lot of that. And because of COVID, I think this was brought up earlier. I know it was kind of more of a riff of a joke, but like because of COVID, I feel like we're seeing a lot of this stuff kind of crammed together because like they were all probably writing this shit during that time, and then it never was able to get directed, developed, filmed, produced. And now we're just seeing the fruits of what had been building up over the last couple of years. And it just so happens we're getting a lot of post-apocalyptic sort of things. And I think going back to the Fallout conversation is like when Fallout comes out, it doesn't matter how many post-apocalyptic shows are out there. That's going to be the one.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. There was a good paper I read a couple years ago where they were talking about how certain genres of fiction tend to pop up, like at certain points. Like you get a lot of vampire stuff when societies are going through kind of like a sexual revolution period of time. You get a lot of like post-apocalyptic or zombie stuff when people are genuinely frightened about kind of the state of the world.
So like a larger psychological picture of what's going on.
Where the entertainment kind of follows what's happening in that society. And I feel that that's probably the case. There's at least some element to it there. And yes, part of it is Hollywood's a copycat industry. That's always the case. Oh, is this type of content doing really well? Let's make more of that. Obviously, the audience wants this content. So, it's like, it's how we ended up with Volcano and Dante's Peak and all the stuff in the mid-90s. All the disaster films, right? In the 90s, it was, right, Armageddon and Deep Impact and Volcano and Dante's Peak and all those, like,
I don't mean to laugh,
ones.
but Dante's Peak was the first thing that came to mind, and I was like, man, what a film.
So werewolves being historically tied to things regarding the working class. Possible, yeah. Again, there's a paper about it. I'll look it up and see if I can find it again. It doesn't shock me we're getting a lot of post-apocalyptic stuff right now. It's also, from a writing perspective, a setting that's rife for being able to explore different themes, right? Like, what is humanity?
Yeah.
What happens when we're at our most desperate? What happens when we're back in this very resource-scarce society, right? How does community form in a world where the societal structures that we were used to just
are
gone?
Yep.
So I think there's some of that. Yeah, again, so about the monster movies. That was, again, another big 90s one, Lake Placid, Anaconda, right? Yeah, I mean, things come in cycles and waves, and so that, considering how quiet cities were when the pandemic was keeping people inside, it makes sense that post-apoc would show up. Yeah.
Yep.
In fact, I read another article right when that was happening, because they said that the Earth's got kind of a natural vibration due to all the machinery and cars and stuff, and it was noticeably less during the early days of the
I can see
pandemic
that.
because there
Yeah.
was just no cars out there. They were like, holy crap.
Literally quiet.
I remember driving around early in the pandemic because I was still in a job where I had to go places at the beginning part of the pandemic. And I remember being like, Seattle with no traffic. I could get from
this is
Lynnwood
bizarre.
to SeaTac in 27 minutes.
That's a normal travel time.
I'm like, this is what happens when everyone stays home. It was amazing. So
I think we had coming through the chat, what new game are you looking forward to the most in October? October specifically, I think a lot of people will still be playing Starfield, and some people will be cracking into Baldur's Gate because it's going to eat up so much time, especially if you're like on PlayStation, that's where it's going to.
yeah,
If we're talking about specifically October, I pulled up a list. We've got Hellboy, Detective Pikachu, Forza Motorsport, Assassin's Creed, Lords of the Fallen, Sonic Superstars, Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Wonder, City Skyline 2, Alone in the Dark, Ghost Runner 2, and Alan Wake 2. I mean, that is a packed month from front to back, and I would honestly say, if I had to pick three, because out of this stack I have to pick three, I'm probably the most excited for Alan Wake 2. Closely behind that would probably be tied Ghost Runner and Spider-Man 2. Ghost Runner 2 and Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 mostly because like it just looks fantastic, but I have not had a chance to play Miles Morales. And then Super Mario Brothers Wonder because like I'm always looking for some fun couch co-op.
oh yeah.
That's probably how I would stack my three.
Okay.
Or 4.
I'm gonna put this one into October due to its release date being so close to the end of September.
Okay.
So I probably won't even get to it until October. And I think most people won't. Phantom Liberty
Yeah.
for Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, I guess that is coming out. Yeah.
It comes out September 26th, so I'm sure that will eat up a decent chunk. In fact, I'm trying to figure out right now in my head when I'm going to like fit all this in, because AC Mirage drops October 5th.
Yep, and that's going to eat up a bunch of your time. October 12th, unless there's early release on that. A lot of games have been doing like a week early release as an extra couple bucks.
Yeah, it's early release for the 5th. It was previously dated October 12th.
Okay.
They moved it forward a week in mid-August.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
I don't even think I can come up with a third. Those two are the two that I'm most looking forward to for October. John said this yesterday. We're eating great as gamers right now.
Yep.
Right. There is enough content to keep me busy through the holidays.
Yeah.
Like if I went and was like, okay, between Starfield, Phantom Liberty, and apparently with Phantom Liberty, there's a whole new story ending, which means I'm gonna have to start Cyberpunk 2077 over again.
Yeah, new quests, new missions,
Right.
new stuff, new
Like,
car combat. Oh my God, I saw
new
the trailer for
everything,
that
like-
the other day. It looks so good.
Like, and especially considering I know how long Cyberpunk 2077 takes to do. I may ditch one of my playthroughs that I was fiddling with and restart it. So with all of that, like, I've got gaming content through the end of the year. Like, I'm not, like, honestly, truthfully, the last couple of months, I've been searching for stuff to play, like on the nights where I'm playing video games and stuff, and I've been like, like
Kind of middling.
like trying some different stuff. Thank God Game Pass, I can just like fiddle with stuff.
Yeah.
But, whew.
But after Starfield comes out, gaming time will be locked down for a lot of people, I'd imagine, including myself, where it's just like, all right, it's going to be Starfield and something else, and then you roll right into the next release. And then that rolls right into October because, you got Cyberpunk at the end of the month, and then you roll into October, and it's like every 4 days a game comes out in October.
Yeah, so
Every 4 days. Think about that. Every 4 days.
yeah, I've definitely got plenty of stuff to play through the end of the year. It may finally get me to bring back gaming on this channel, right? I know we were doing it for a little while and kind of ditched it for a bit.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. I'd love to see that come back.
I know we did it for a little bit and it was kind of mildly popular, but we may bring back video game stuff on the channel. This is going to be an interesting time. So look forward to it. Okay, next chat topic. Again, if you have any chat topics, go ahead and drop them in there right now. What is your favorite controller? I'm going to interpret this as favorite controller of all time.
Okay, yeah.
John?
Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't pick the Steam controller. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. My favorite controller of all time, honestly, Gosh, it's gotta be the Dreamcast controller just because of how unique it was at the time. But if I were to say one that I'm still rocking to this day, the Xbox One controller is a fantastic controller. I've tried a lot of controllers. I have a wall of controllers at my house that's on display, and I would say that that's probably one that I've come back to year after year after year. It has not failed me. It has been fun. I haven't had to replace parts in it. The sticks have been good, and then I just got a more upgraded one recently. But yeah, I would say the Dreamcast though was probably my favorite controller, and a lot of that had to do with the memory card. Being able in some games it wasn't full function, but being able to basically have a little Tamagotchi style system in my pocket that was also my memory card that plugged into the console, into the controller, that was just so much fun.
We've talked a bit about the Dreamcast on the show in the past, and I still contend that it is the saddest failure of a console because it was such a good console.
Yes.
That was so far ahead of its time.
Yep.
Right? First console with an inbuilt modem.
Yep.
Right? Like, first console that did a lot of things, and I think that it was Sega's fault in the mistakes they had made prior to the launch of the Dreamcast and the speed at which the 16, the 32X, the Sega CD, and all the crap that we're doing. It's their own fault, but it still makes me sad because I think if the Dreamcast had hit and the styles of game that were on the Dreamcast,
oh, so many good stuff.
The way that they did stuff for the Dreamcast, I think would have changed the face of gaming for probably the next 10 years. That point.
I think also, fun fact for a lot of people that don't know this, and some of you might now go rush out and buy a Dreamcast, it's not region encoded. So you can just burn games to a CD-ROM and play the game.
Right. And also there's a lot of really dope Japanese titles.
Yeah.
That were released in Japan.
That we got over here too, stateside.
Yep. That came with the Dreamcast. My favorite controller though, I gotta go for functionality and use case. The one that I've probably used the most because it worked so well with the PC for so long was the wired 360 controller. The Xbox 360 controller. Because I mean, that's the Xbox right into your PC adapter for that.
And they were built really well.
Really well. It was solid. My second in that list, again, I'm with John on the iconicness of the Dreamcast controller again, how ahead of its time it was. But for me, the second was probably the PlayStation 2. Just because I spent so much time using that sticky controller.
Yeah, because then you got the joysticks and the full top buttons, and it started feeling really good at that point. I remember that. The
DualShock 2.
Yep.
That is probably that or the 360 controller. Both those controller designs were really well done. Once Xbox got past that big fat boy fat hand controller, I still don't know what they were thinking with that initial controller design for the Xbox, but.
Evanissimo, so favorite indie game of the year so far. I'm actually gonna have to ask if you wouldn't mind coming back in 2 days and asking that question because the sequel to one of my favorite indie games comes out tomorrow. So come back, ask me that question, then I'll have your answer for you
early
in
next
2
week.
Days. Yeah.
There you go. Okay,
it's gonna be
John,
blasphemous too for anybody that's curious.
If you could insert a trivia category into Thursday Trivia Night, which is tonight, by the way, every other Thursday we got trivia. What trivia category would you insert if you could? What would be a good trivia category for the store?
What are the main staples right now?
Oh gosh, I'm gonna pull some stuff up. I think we're doing I think the sound one this week is SNES stuff.
Okay.
So there's always video game soundtrack stuff. Let's see if I can find it. I think he posted it in Gen Chat.
I would probably do something weird like
SNES main themes is tonight.
Okay.
I went to a trivia night, ended up in another world, which I'm guessing is going to be some sort of isekai.
Okay. Video
game system by controller, which I'm sure will be the picture round. And Magic the Gathering slang and terminology, and an unknown bonus round.
So I was going to actually go with the picture round because there's this game that I play online called Framed, where you get 6 guesses and you get to try to figure out frame by frame a film daily. It is a fantastic little game. I would definitely do that with retro games, where it's just a random shot that is not a classic shot or a shot that you would know from the game.
Okay.
Pulled from a random scene, and you get a couple chances to try to figure out after a couple shots what game it is.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of those where it would trigger nostalgic stuff, and then eventually, like, you get to the fourth or fifth shot, and it's got characters that you recognize or like whatever, and that's when you start trying to narrow down, like, oh, which game was it actually in the series? But I think honestly, like, something like that is what I would add to it.
I don't know if there's anything I'd add. I love this idea of the SNES main themes because it's going to bring me back so much.
Right.
You can do all that with like Genesis shit. Here's a good trivia one. Obscure video game hardware. Right?
By like what, like Shape or something?
No, like the Sega Channel.
Oh, okay.
Right? Most people don't even know that thingy existed.
Yeah.
I had one when I was 10.
Is that the one that you could like download games from or
Yeah,
whatever?
so it was a Sega cartridge with like this oversized top,
Yep.
and you plugged it into your Sega Genesis, and then it had a coaxial cable port
Yep.
on the back of the box on top of the cartridge, and you literally went from your coax thing on your wall, and so it was like early coaxial, like high-speed internet from your cable company, and you screwed it in there, and then it had a separate power port.
And you essentially downloaded games.
And you would download one game at a time,
Yep.
and play them, but there was like 60 games on it that were available at any given time.
That's pretty cool.
The Game Gear TV antenna, I remember that one too, where you could plug the TV antenna and turn your Game Gear into a television.
I remember the classic, like, probably everybody remembers this one. This is still kind of obscure because some people use it, but like the camera for the Game Boy.
Oh yeah?
Like
The Game Boy printer?
Yeah, the Game Boy printer, right? Like,
The Game Boy printer. So there you go. There's a good trivia topic. It would be obscure video game hardware from the past.
Nope.
That was just weird. SNES, especially Famicom, they had some weird ones in Japan. They had a lot of weird like add-ons that they just bolted onto the Famicom and the Super Famicom.
Yeah. So
yeah.
since we have been asked, and we're kind of nearing the end of the show, what is everybody's game that they're looking forward to?
I'd be curious from the chat what you guys are
I
looking
feel like we're
forward
going to get a lot of answers that we know, but like if there's anything obscure out there that you're waiting for, or if you are also just waiting for Starfield like the rest of us, drop it in the chat. Let us know.
Yep. Game Boy games to the TV through your GameCube. The first one of those was actually for the Super Nintendo. They had the Super Game Boy, and it was a pop in, and you stuck the Game Boy cartridge in the Super Nintendo cartridge. That was a great
I remember that
thing. The Jaguar 3D goggle thing. You really could call Virtua Boy its own piece of obscure, like, what were you thinking hardware?
Whew, man, that hurt your eyes a lot.
Yeah.
I've played one a couple times.
Game Genie, somebody brought up. Game Genie and Game Shark.
Game Genie. Oh my gosh, I remember having those. I remember them, like, they like won a lawsuit or something because like that's what revolutionized like modding and hacking and like all of that stuff, because like the game companies were super against it until they realized that like people were really enjoying this.
Somebody's saying Armored Core 6. I think Armored Core 6 is going to be a hit.
I've heard some good stuff about it. I'm excited just because after I play single player, I can go stomp some of my friends in 3v3 or 1v1.
Yeah.
And I think that's cool.
Somebody else said PAX Day, which is that new MMO.
Oh, okay. Okay, we got a new MMO coming out. Awesome.
Yeah, that one is, I'm trying to see when it's coming out. No official release. I think they're getting ready to go into beta.
A social sandbox MMO inspired by the legends of the medieval era.
Yeah.
I'll
I
have
mean,
to
the
look into that.
graphics look really solid. So yeah, PAX Day is one somebody's looking forward to.
I know that the Black Desert group, the people that made that are putting out a new game, and I saw a trailer for it yesterday, and it looks insane. There is so much happening in the trailer. Like, we should watch that sometime and unpack it. But like,
Yeah.
it's like Witcher level of like, seems like role playing, but with like so many other things, down to even like pole vaulting over fences and shit. Like, I know that's a random thing, but like there's just so much packed into the trailer. It's kind of crazy.
Have MMOs ever reached the heights of World of Warcraft? I guess it depends on what you mean. Users wise, no.
Not the heyday. Absolutely not.
No, nobody's gotten past the heyday of World of Warcraft and the number of users they had. As far as gameplay and function, again, that's kind of a judgment call.
Yeah.
You know,
Because like I know a ton of people got into that. What was that kind of cartoony sci-fi one that didn't stick around very long?
Oh, I just want to tell you, I can't think of the name
Had
of
a
it.
huge player base. Lots of my friends talked about it, but like then it still died. So it's hard. It's hard because like MMOs are in their sort of like their own little space. And then you get into the what do you classify as an MMO? The newest Diablo, it's an ARPG, but like you are in an MMO world with a ton of other people. So that's, line blurs a little bit there.
Phantasy Star Online, City of Heroes. Yeah, I mean, like, there was the one that Amazon did like a year ago, 2 years ago.
New World?
New World.
New
I played
World
that
had
quite
a
a bit.
really big launch.
It did, and then it just kind of like petered out. I mean, I'm sure it's still up. And, I mean,
yeah.
You can still play SWTOR right now.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, you can play Star Wars: The Old Republic right now. It's up. You can go play it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what games are at the peaks of their genres? Again, that's kind of a judgment call.
I mean, this is something that we could take a couple of these questions and hold on to them for tomorrow for next week and like really get some time to think about it.
What games are at the peaks of their genres for user hype levels and cultural relevance? That's a tough one. That's actually
that could just be a topic for a show. Like that's a lot of stuff right there.
Yeah.
Speaking of games, if you're planning on buying any of these games that we've talked about, anything that's coming out in the next couple of days, especially if you're looking to pick up Armored Core, we are a Humble partner, correct?
Yes, we're a Humble Bundle partner.
If you are going to do that, go ahead and use the Humble link because that does support the store, as we talked about in the past.
Should be in the YouTube stuff and a bunch on the main Twitch page as well.
But I do know Fires of Rubicon is on Humble Bundle. Again, if you make Humble Bundle purchases through that link, it does support the store, and I would fully recommend it.
Yep. All right, and that's what we're going to call today. I got to run do some shopping. I'm going to pick up beer for you guys and things like that because we don't have beer for trivia night. I'm going to get yelled at. All right. So thank you all for joining us. We will be back next Tuesday with another episode of the Super Show. We'll do our PAX kind of preview, and now I'm going to take this one, and we're going to be like, holy smokes, that's a lot. Like John said, that could be a whole day. It's just what's at the peak of their genre. Yeah. Thank you all for joining us. We will be open at 3 o'clock. Have a wonderful day, everybody.
Absolutely.
Bye.